A common storytelling mechanic that one can find in many stories is the generation Xerox trope. This trope is more than just one generation inheriting the will, strengths, or powers of the previous generation. No, this trope goes deeper. You inherit also their whole life story. It's like watching a retelling of the same story over and over again. The cast is new, but the play is the same, that sort of thing. And Naruto uses this trope as well. The trope of the mentor and their 3 students. The traits are generally each character defined by a personality and role. Jiraiya, Obito, Naruto. These 3 served the knucklehead ninja role on the team. Sasuke, Kakashi, Orochimaru. These 3 served the serious prodigy role. Sakura, Tsunade, Rin. These 3 served the strong female role of the team. And as for mentors, they all ended up being Hokage at some point who felt it important to teach their students about teamwork, with one student always rejecting it and somehow becoming a member of the villainous group Akatsuki at some point. The mirrored nature of these stories intrigues me, but there's one reason why I want to shake it up, because there is a difference between Team Kakashi and Team Minato. Unlike the common loss of the serious prodigy in the team with Team Kakashi, it was the knucklehead ninja. That's a bit of a difference. Not every time does history repeat itself exactly, and that's what I want to focus on. What if we altered these teams a bit? What if Team Minato had 2 serious prodigies on it? And what if Team Kakashi had 2 knucklehead ninjas on it? That's what we're here to find out. Sit right back and grab some popcorn. We're gonna get into this. Welcome to the Amagi. Before we begin, only 25% of our viewers are subscribed, so if you're a fan of the video, please like and double check if you're subscribed, and with that out of the way, let's get into the video. The Academy was the place where every Konoha shinobi's life tended to begin. In the older generations, there were some exceptions, but as of today, if you wanted to become a shinobi, you needed to take a class, or at least the ninja equivalent of a GED through this academy. Among those who took their classes seriously, there were those who lingered in the dust, unable to even come close, such as our poor friend Might Guy, whose ability to utilize ninjutsu while still being capable was not cut out for higher-ranking techniques at the moment. That led others to believe he could never pass the academy if he didn't figure something else out fast. But on the opposite end of the spectrum were the prodigies, the ones who learned anything as quickly as humanly possible, sometimes faster. Getting so serious and intelligent that they could already be Chunin level without even trying. Among these most powerful academy students was one Kakashi Hatake and one Sasuke Uchiha. Kakashi, the son of former legend Sakumo Hatake, was a legend in his own right, proving not only to have the intelligence required to observe and utilize ninjutsu himself, but possessing enough chakra control to actually make use of it better than the original user, or at the very least mastering it more quickly than the original caster. Sasuke, on the other hand, was an orphan boy living with his grandmother, his parents taken from him at such a young age that he hardly has any memory of it. He was a hard worker, strong and powerful in chakra reserves, but as an Uchiha, there was something else about him. His Sharingan. Having awakened it at an early age, he could use it to copy ninjutsu almost perfectly. He was a prodigy as well, and this led to him and Kakashi to taking a bit of rivalry against each other. Kakashi was never really challenged in the academy, not by the lessons nor by the other students. Sasuke was the only one. Not only were both boys strong, but they were very dreamy too, or so the girls of the class might think. Enter Rin Nohara, a young girl, sweet and kind. Her heart was like a rose, very beautiful and calming, yet covered in thorns as to tell you not to mishandle it lest you be hurtin'. She was the one who crushed on them the most. Rin couldn't help but find herself attracted to strong guys with a dark personality, and there were none in class stronger or more emo than these two. Kakashi and Sasuke's rivalry seemed to be in everything, from video games to studying to sparring. They fought on a daily basis. But despite possessing no Sharingan of his own, Kakashi appeared to have the greater potential of the two, and would often have the edge. This forced Sasuke to work harder to prove himself, which he would do very often. And slowly, Sasuke would take the lead, until Kakashi would do the same. The rate at which these two were growing was insane. It was to the point that Konoha said screw it and decided to let them graduate from the academy early. Kakashi's personality, though, kept him from staying too long on any one team, and though Sasuke was a model student and the perfect genin, for some reason he wasn't picked up. Call it rotten luck. All the teams were full, it seemed, save the ones Kakashi bounced around on. Eventually, Rin herself graduated and ended up ready for a team. That was when a particular man of light blonde hair took her under his wing, and along with her, he brought Kakashi and Sasuke both. Rin was shocked at this turn of events. With her two greatest crushes both on her team, she couldn't help but be excited. She felt as though her love-struck heart, beating fast and hard, might just explode in their presence. She was a professional though, through and through, a true shinobi. She wasn't here for love, she was here for her country. She was here for her village. She was here to make something of herself and be exactly what Konoha needed. She could compartmentalize. There was plenty of time to be love-struck when she was punched out. But while punched in, she was going to separate her personal wishes from what she was expected to fulfill. From the very beginning, Minato wished to teach them about teamwork and its importance. "Okay team, listen up," Minato said as he knelt down to their level. The three of them drew closer as his finger bid them to do. He pulled something from his pockets that he wished to show them. It was a pair of old, tarnished bells, held together by a red string that had long since lost its vibrance. These bells are an artifact from the past, a past that I experienced, and a past my master experienced as well. These bells come from the earliest generations of the village, back when it was first starting out. For a long time, they've been used as a teaching tool, and now I wish to use them to teach you as well. "What are you gonna teach us, Minato-sensei?" Rin asked, her eyes filled with wonder as she gazed upon the humble history shared by the greatest shinobi to ever grace the village with their might. "I'm going to teach you the meaning and importance of teamwork." "Teamwork?" Sasuke parroted with a questioning tone. Minato nodded. "Yes. You see, these bells represent a common goal for you three." He proceeded to tie the bells to the belt loop of his pants. "I am a Jonin, but if I weren't, I could never take you on as my students. I have proven myself strong, but you three are but the earliest of Genin. By all comparisons, with proper humility and caution from pride in mind, my power is far greater than yours. There is very little chance that any of you can beat me and take these bells from me. However, altogether, you might actually stand a chance. You see, I only have 2 hands and 2 feet, but altogether, you have 6 hands and 6 feet. If those hands and feet are used wisely, they could make the challenge considerably tougher for me." "What's the point? These other two will just slow me down," Kakashi said, drawing the silent indignation and ire of Sasuke's crimson stare. "In war, anything that can go wrong will go wrong. Everything from fulfilling a mission to coming home alive is by chance. With a strong team, you increase your chances of succeeding. With a teammate watching your back, that teammate might stop a blade that you didn't know was heading for your back. And if facing off against someone of far greater strength and skill, teamwork can increase your chances of success. Even if not by much, even if it's still hopeless, it's better to have a higher chance than a lower one, because you never know what might happen." Sasuke scoffed. "You expect me to lower my ability to match these two? That would make our chances of success even lower, right? Sounds like a bad plan to me." Kakashi's gaze turned toward the tree line as he hid his anger at that statement. Minato took a deep breath and sighed. "Kakashi, Sasuke, you both have an intense rivalry. But on the battlefield, who is MVP? Who's better or worse? It all falls away. It's only you and survival, and everyone will have their part to play. It's best that you learn it now, when you're safe, rather than later when you're in danger and could die. So I suggest that you work together to defeat me, because if you can't do that, then I can't trust you on the field of battle. If you can't set aside your differences and get these bells, then I will send you all back to the academy until the most important lesson about surviving in a war is drilled into your heads. Got it?" Kakashi and Sasuke looked down with a sigh of disappointment and agreed, their heads nodding in approval, all while Rin in the middle looked at both with curiosity. She looked at Minato with a wide, toothy grin. "I already know I'm a crap shinobi compared to these two. I'll need all the help I can get to take you down, sensei." Minato smiled. "You're not a crap shinobi, Rin. If you can already grasp this important lesson, then you're already far greater a shinobi than even these two." Minato stood. "Now, let the games begin. You have until sunset. Don't let me down." Minato jumped away. Kakashi and Sasuke looked at each other. Rin looked at them both. "Well, you heard the man. Let's go." The group would quickly give chase to Minato. Deep down though, the difference between Kakashi and Sasuke, or perhaps the not-so differences, were still rearing their ugly head. The dark side of rivalry. Rivalry is a fantastic tool used for growing and strengthening oneself and others. Rivalry can be one of the greatest traits in a team, but only if used in moderation. The moment it becomes the center of the team dynamic, it becomes unhealthy, as both Sasuke and Kakashi are about to learn. They're quick to draw close to Minato, who, to his credit, slowed himself down as to actually give his students a chance. You see, Minato was not a prideful man. He was humble at heart, and this was a virtue he needed his team to understand. Perhaps that was what he was trying to teach them all along. Rivalry is a wonderful thing when paired with self-confidence and the desire to better oneself. But if paired with pride and the need to prove you're better, it leads one down a solitary path that has no place within a team. As they drew closer, Sasuke's Sharingan began to spin as they took in vast amounts of information in an attempt to formulate a plan. Kakashi was being observant as well, attempting to form his own plan. Despite Sasuke's eyes allowing him to have a faster processing time, Kakashi still beat him out in formulating one. Kakashi would throw a kunai ahead that would bury itself within a branch. This kunai had an explosive tag attached. Minato was no idiot. He saw this and threw his own kunai at the last moment. As Minato was about to jump to that branch, Kakashi executed his plan, blowing away the limb, hoping the fall would slow Minato and force him to a ground chase, which their higher perch would give them advantage in. However, as the tag exploded, Minato suddenly teleported to his kunai, which had already buried itself deep in a nearby tree, allowing him to avoid the jump. However, what Kakashi had not anticipated in his attempt to formulate a plan faster than Sasuke was his own team's momentum, which meant that they couldn't stop in time, and instead of Minato falling, it was all of Team Minato instead. They all landed on the ground in an awkward position. Moans and groans could be heard as they laid on their faces for a while. Minato called down to them. "Are you three okay?" he asked. Rin sat up. "I think so." Minato sighed in relief. "Good. Be more careful next time." He then leapt away. Sasuke sat up. "Way to go, Taddy Bogle. You just nuked our whole momentum." "I don't see you coming up with any plans," Kakashi shouted back. Sasuke looked over. "A plan? You call that a plan? I thought it was a desperate attempt to save your own self-image." Kakashi growled at Sasuke. "That's hilarious coming from you. Even with those wonderful Sharingan, you still didn't have a plan as fast as me." "You two just stop," Rin shouted. She rubbed the back of her neck. "I thought this was gonna be the best. The two boys of my dreams teamed up with me on the same team, and now all I'm feeling is just how stupid you two really are. Sensei obviously wants us to work together. Drop your pride. It looks worse on you than shame does." She stood and began to walk away toward where Minato fled. Together, the three continued the chase. Sasuke continued to think of a plan, one he was sure would work. Putting his fingers together, he created 3 shadow clones that would peel off to find another way to get ahead of Minato. Sensei wants to see teamwork? I'll show him teamwork. The work of a 3-man team that consists of me, myself, and I. "There's no I in team, Sasuke," Rin cautioned him. "No, there's not, but there is in win, and I plan to beat Sensei." The clones got into place. They waited for Minato to draw closer. When he was within range, they launched from their hidden perches and flew straight at their mentor. However, as they grew closer to him, they found themselves passing straight through, as the form of their master shifted into the form of a log. "Substitute," Rin called just before the clones hit them. Kakashi, Sasuke, and Rin were thrown from the trees. They hit the ground hard again. Sasuke's ears were ringing. He felt as though he was hit by a bus. Sitting up, he saw Kakashi coming toward him. Kakashi lifted Sasuke up by the collar. "What was that? You knocked the crap out of me." Sasuke pushed Kakashi away. "Keep your mitts off me, Scarecrow." "You're a frickin' idiot," Kakashi shouted. "For someone with the Sharingan, you're awfully slow." "I'm quicker than you. What does that say about you then?" Sasuke retorted. Kakashi and Sasuke raised their fists. All that sparring that they had done prepared them for this moment. There was only room for one of them on this team. The other was going home. "Face it, Kakashi, you're a hack. Every team you join throws you away." Kakashi scoffed. "At least I got on teams. Nobody even wanted to give you a chance." As the tensions boiled up, it was only stopped by the sound of crying. The two of them heard it, and their gaze turned to the corner of their eye. Drawing their full attention, they saw Rin sitting against a tree, her nose bleeding, gripping at her left arm. "Rin!" the two boys shouted as they ran over. Sasuke knelt, as did Kakashi. "Where does it hurt?" Kakashi asked. "My face and my arm. It hurts really bad," she said. Sasuke, looking her over with his Sharingan, spoke. "Her nose is broken. Her arm also appears to be out of joint." Kakashi shoved Sasuke. "This is your fault. If you hadn't have used those stupid shadow clones, she wouldn't have gotten hurt." Sasuke pushed him back. "I'll knock you back to last week if you touch me again, straw man." "Quit calling me that," Kakashi said as he shoved Sasuke in the face with greater force. Sasuke tackled Kakashi against the tree. As they scuffled, suddenly the heel of the foot collided with Sasuke's jawline, knocking him off Kakashi. Kakashi looked over only to get the same treatment. "This is why this happened," she shouted. "You two can't get along, and I'm paying the price for it," she said, her tears still flowing. "You guys can't let go. Maybe I don't want to be on this team anymore." Kakashi and Sasuke looked away from each other for a second and then back at Rin. Their gazes locked as they both seemed to realize what was important right now. "Let's just focus on helping Rin right now," Sasuke said. Kakashi nodded. They crawled back over to her. Sasuke leaned her off the tree and against himself. "Where is it dislocated? The elbow or the shoulder?" Kakashi asked. "The shoulder," Sasuke said. Kakashi began checking it. I can reset it, but it's gonna be painful. Sasuke grabbed a tree branch and snapped it off. Put this in your mouth, Rin, just in case. She bit down. I'm going to count to 3. When I say 3, I'm going to put it back into place, okay? There was no acknowledgement, but he knew she understood. Kakashi took a deep breath and instructed Rin to do the same. 1, 2, 3. He quickly pulled the arm out until it popped into place, causing Rin to let out a loud, muffled cry as her teeth sank into the tree limb. Also, I am not a doctor, and the channel does not condone attempting to treat anyone with an injury like this on your own, as it could cause permanent damage to the shoulder. It is recommended that if you or anyone else you know receives a dislocated shoulder, contact a medical professional immediately. Please and thank you. After her shoulder was put back into place, she seemed to slowly calm down. Kakashi reached into his pack and pulled out some tissues. This is for your nose. Try and slow the bleeding. All the while this was happening, Minato was watching. We need to come up with a better plan, Sasuke said. Something we can both do together. We owe Rin that much. She shouldn't have to pay for our mistakes. Kakashi nodded. Yeah, I didn't want any of this to happen. If we can help her become a genin for Minato-sensei, I'll be fine if he'd sent me away to a new team. We both kinda deserve that, I guess. So let's come up with a plan. There's no need to, Minato said as he came down. I was watching the whole thing. The way you two turned your attention toward Rin when she was hurt, and the way you decided to set your differences aside for someone else's sake, that's the basis of teamwork. And if you 3 can learn to do that, even when none of your teammates are hurt, it'll help you in the long run. For that purpose, let's call it a day. Rin's been shaken up enough. She needs to see a doctor to check out that shoulder and let them do something about her nose. The team was then officially formed. Kakashi and Sasuke's rivalry still continued to exist, but their need to outdo each other persisted all throughout their career. But the difference was that now they knew when and how to put it aside, which made it a far more healthy habit in Minato's eyes. That being said, their growth was incredibly quick, and within the year they had already graduated to Chunin level. And after 2 years, due to their equal desire to surpass one another, Kakashi and Sasuke further passed on to Jonin. Rin remained a Chunin though, but she didn't seem to mind. Minato taught them many things during his time as their sensei, and one of these was his special A-rank jutsu, the Rasengan. He explained to them that he had always planned to add a chakra nature to it, but was never successful. Because of that, Kakashi's imagination began to flare, and he decided to begin working on adding a chakra nature to the technique. It was during this time that Kakashi started to form a new technique called the Chidori. This was happening during the time that they'd been sent on a special mission to sabotage Kanabi Bridge, and Kakashi had the bright idea to try this out in the midst of battle, leaving himself open due to one glaring flaw in the technique: tunnel vision. Minato praised the creation of the technique, realizing that it was still incomplete. Even if the Rasengan's shape fell apart, the speed and piercing power of it certainly did it a lot of favors. But along with that praise came some scolding criticism. Minato told Kakashi that it was obviously not ready as a technique and that testing it in the middle of battle was a bad idea. You're lucky I was here to take that guy down. If I hadn't been, you'd be dead right now, Minato said. Despite these things, Minato informed Kakashi that the technique he made might be better suited to Sasuke's use due to him possessing the Sharingan. Sasuke was already working on stealing this technique as it was, and with the blessing of Minato, he took it as a green light. Copying it with his Sharingan, he was sure he'd make great use of it. Hey, that technique was developed by me. You can't just steal it, Sasuke, Kakashi said. Sasuke smiled. It's not like you're gonna be able to use it anymore. Only I can make good use of it anyway. Consider it a gift to me. If you're gonna claim my technique, then you better come up with a good one to trade back. Minato sighed. Listen, you two, I can't stay. I've been called away to help another company. It's urgent. You two need to work together with Rin to bring the bridge down. Can I trust you? Of course, Minato-sensei, they said in unison. Minato smiled. Good. Just as he was about to leave, though, Minato was stopped by them. Wait, which one of us in charge while you're gone? Sasuke asked. You're both Jonin. Do you need to have someone in charge? Well, there needs to be a chain of command, Kakashi said. Minato rolled his eyes. He looked at Sasuke and then at Kakashi. Okay, fine. How about this? Since Kakashi's technique was a flop, why don't you lead? Maybe it'll make you feel better or something. I don't really care. Just get the job done. I gotta go. Minato rushed off. Kakashi turned back. You heard him. I'm in charge now. Fall in, team. Let's go. The 3 of them began to make their way off toward the bridge. But as you know, the teammates of the Iwa Nin that Minato killed to protect Kakashi didn't take too kindly to that, and sought revenge on the team for what had happened. To that end, they attempted to attack the group, but while Sasuke and Kakashi were too strong for them, Rin was not. In an attempt to salvage their revenge, they took her away. Kakashi was surprised. Sasuke shouted to Kakashi, "We need to rescue her." Kakashi suddenly felt the pressure being poured on. The moment The situation, everything he had experienced, it hit him all at once, and he felt like shutting down. No, we can't. What? Why? Sasuke demanded. The mission has to come first. We can't sacrifice the mission for a member of the team. That's not what Minato taught us, Sasuke said. Kakashi looked to Sasuke. My father was like Minato. Sasuke began to understand. Disregard those feelings, Kakashi. We're going to rescue Rin. Kakashi shook his head. Sasuke sighed. Fine then, I'm going in alone. You can't do that, Kakashi said. I need you for the bridge. You can't go. Watch me, Sasuke said. I'm the one in command right now, Kakashi called out. If you defy my orders, that's a court-martial. Sasuke looked back. You and I both know Minato-sensei only gave you that role because he feels bad for you. You couldn't use the technique you made, so he gave you this role. I'm a Jonin, just like you. You have no authority over me. Your right to command is as paper-thin as your sense of willpower. If you're going to just get in the way, don't bother following me. Sasuke walked off. Out of the two, Sasuke had always been the more rebellious, which was one reason why no teams wanted him. He would buck authority to do what he felt was more important. Kakashi stood at the other end of that spectrum, so staunchly loyal to the rules that he would even betray his own team just to keep them, even if it wasn't practical, which is why he kept getting removed. And now they were splitting apart. Kakashi was certain that the right thing was to complete the mission first and then come back for Rin. Or at least he thought he was. The further away he got, the more his conscience aided him. It was agonizing, painful. He felt as though his heart was burning with each step he took until he was overtaken by his guilt. Rushing back, he went to help Sasuke face off against one of the Iwanin who could turn invisible. Sasuke's Sharingan was active, and with it he could see the man well, but the man's speed allowed for him to get around Sasuke, causing him to get the drop. Kakashi was there to defend, stopping Sasuke from getting a dagger to the back. But in doing so, Kakashi instead caught the tip of the blade with his eye, blinding him in it. That being said, he did manage to catch the blade long enough for Sasuke to turn back and strike the man, killing him. Entering the cave, they found Rin. After a short battle, they rescued her, but the cave began to collapse, and in an attempt to save Kakashi, Sasuke would be crushed by the falling stone. Sasuke felt as though his time was up, and he lamented that he couldn't do the things he had always wanted to do. Sasuke, why did you do that? Kakashi demanded. I don't know, my body just moved. As Sasuke laid there, watching as his greatest rival and worst enemy cried over his death, he felt compassion. He felt moved. Kakashi, remember when I took over your Chidori technique? I did so because you couldn't use it anymore. But now there's a lot of techniques I can't use anymore, so I'd like to give you one, Sasuke said. It was here that Sasuke proceeded to give up his Sharingan to Kakashi so that Kakashi could see. Sasuke's excuse for this was that because he was likely going to die, he should give it over to him to replace what Kakashi had lost for his sake. Rin aided with the transplant, using her knowledge she had received from her medical nin training. Sasuke then bid them to leave. As the rubble collapsed on top of him further, he felt numbness take over the entirety of his body. As consciousness began to slip away, he could no longer hear what was going on. He felt the cold embrace of death approaching him, and he saw a light leading him away, the silhouette of his parents beckoning him closer. As he drew closer, though, a dark hand gripped him tightly and yanked him back. Awakening, he found himself in a bed, half of his body wrapped up. As he sat up, he discovered himself to be in a cave, with only one man and some strange creatures along with him. As Sasuke sat there, his one Sharingan open, he looked closely at the man whose gaze rested heavy upon him. What are you? The elderly man asked. Sasuke had no answer for him, as technically he should be asking the same. The man sat there. You're something special, I feel. Your eyes. They contain something in them that's different from other Uchiha. You aren't like the others. From the beginning, Madara sensed something different within Sasuke. Something familiar yet distant. Something like a candle in the distance. A soft orange glow being viewable, but realization of what that candle could be still having yet to provide the answer. Who are you? Sasuke asked. I am the man who rescued you. Why did you rescue me? Madara sat there for a moment. Curiosity's sake. I had considered simply harvesting your surviving Sharingan. For what reason would I have to waste time and resources rebuilding any run-of-the-mill shinobi? But when I first laid eyes on you, something within me sparked. It resonated. Within you is something like myself. I suppose I needed to know what it was. And have you now figured out what it was? Sasuke asked. Am I now free to leave? I have not. And no, you are not free to leave. You will never leave. Not until I know for what purpose I rescued you. Sasuke sat there silently. Then what will you have me do? Whatever it is that you desire. Until I make my decision on what you are free to do anything you wish within this cave. Anything but leave it. Sasuke looked down at his new right hand, as well as his right leg. "What is this?" he asked. "This isn't my arm. It feels numb. It burns at the tips of my fingers." "Your original arm and leg could not be salvaged," Madara said. "It was replaced by my Zetsu." "Zetsu?" Sasuke asked. "Artificial human, formed from the substance my tree produces, mixed with the regenerative properties of the first Hokage. The burning you're feeling is the nerves of the arm, connecting and communicating with your mind." Sasuke was taking all of this in. He wanted to crash out in panic, but his mind was made of sterner stuff. As he looked down at his arm and his leg, he could think of at least one positive. "My original arm and leg might be gone, but they've been replaced with something like them. That should be adequate for a normal lifestyle." The more he looked it over, the more he realized just how weak and scrawny the new limbs were, so he knew what he would do to entertain himself. "If I can do anything, then rehabilitation is in order," Sasuke said. "I wish to use my new body to strengthen myself until it's as good or better than my old body." Madara listened to how the boy took this new information in stride. Most would lose their composure over something like this, and yet, this child took it as Madara himself would. This had become both a challenge and an opportunity for Sasuke, and Madara was beginning to get a clearer view. As time continued to pass and Sasuke continued to train, his strength and abilities came back to him, and even surpassed what he thought he was capable of. The power of the first Hokage now ran through his veins, and it set him ablaze with new potential. In Sasuke's eyes, this might have been the best thing to ever happen to him. Unfortunate was the accident, and less than satisfactory was the way it had to be handled. But the results of this, they were more than he could have ever imagined. As Sasuke trained, Madara called over White Zetsu. "I am beginning to understand. I think I know what he is, but before I can be certain, I need to test something. I need you to do something." Sasuke was training with the Zetsu. They were all coming at him at once. Despite possessing only one Sharingan, it hadn't affected him too greatly, and his abilities had long since adapted to his loss of vision. He faced a multitude of Zetsu clones, and despite how many got close, Sasuke's reaction time had grown fast enough to handle. The chakra drain of his Sharingan had lowered significantly. His reaction time had increased. He wasn't sure how, but he knew this had to be the cells of Hashirama Senju. By the end of it, he was surrounded by the bodies of many Zetsu clones. As they all laid around, defeated, Sasuke looked to Madara. "Do you not have any stronger Zetsu for me to face?" Madara looked at him silently. It was at this point that Tobi, the Zetsu, ran in. "Master, it's the mist!" Sasuke looked back. "What about the mist?" Sasuke asked. "They've been spotted near here. They're chasing those two little friends of Sasuke's, Kakashi and Rin." Sasuke heard it and then looked back at Madara. Madara looked to Sasuke. "Take Tobi and go. Protect your friends, but do not share your identity yet, and return to me when you're done." It was then that Tobi covered Sasuke. "There, not only can I give you strength, but I can conceal your identity too." The Zetsu laughed. Sasuke then proceeded to leave the cave. "Are you sure that was wise?" White Zetsu asked. "He might not come back." "He'll come back," Madara said. "He has no choice but to do so. I have a feeling about him, and I need to know what he truly is. I feel that if we push him to the breaking point and beyond, he will inevitably show us what I can sense, but cannot see." "As you wish, Master." As Sasuke rushed through the forest, he could hear the fighting going on. It began to rain, but the skies told him it wasn't any rain. This was water cast up into the atmosphere due to intense fighting. As Sasuke drew closer, he knew Kakashi surely had grown stronger. "He has my Sharingan. He had better be stronger," Sasuke said, smiling a bit, thinking about being able to finally face off against his rival again. But as he drew closer, he felt a sense of intense anxiety building up inside him. But it wasn't his anxiety. He began to see flashes of light, imagery from his empty socket. "What is this?" Sasuke questioned. It was as if he were not only seeing with the Sharingan in Kakashi's head, but sensing his emotions too, feeling his chakra. "We'd better speed up," Sasuke said. "Sounds like Kakashi's about to fall apart, and if Kakashi of all people's panicking, then it really must be a tight spot." They heard the sound of clangs as well as thunder. The sound of electricity lighting up a hand carried through the air like the chirps of 1,000 birds. "That's the Chidori I hear," Sasuke said with a smile. "So he has been using my Sharingan well." But as he reached the battle, what he saw was not what he had hoped. He saw Rin dive in front of Kakashi's attack, forcing him to gouge her heart out. Sasuke's eyes widened in shock as he began to understand. Kakashi screamed in agony. The feedback from both Kakashi's reaction as well as the pain in Sasuke's own heart caused a snap. Sasuke had cared for Rin as much as Kakashi had, and to see her dying, he felt as if he had been a bit faster. Maybe he could have saved her. That guilt caused something in Sasuke to change. The awakening of a Mangekyo Sharingan. But that wasn't it. The Mangekyo Sharingan was not all that awakened. His entire body burned with a sudden release of chakra from every cell, a surge of chakra that nearly made him pass out the same way Kakashi had rushed through him. Ah! He felt a deep pain. As he opened his eyes, it had transcended well past his Sharingan. It had become a Rinnegan. Oh my, Toby said in confusion. From the cave, Madara viewed these events through a crystal ball that Zetsu was holding. Master, is that the... Madara nodded. It is as I thought. He and I are linked by more than just bloodline. Sasuke walked out toward them and knelt down to Rin, who was gone. He was overcome with sadness. His face showed no expression, but tears were running from his eyes. Turning back, he saw Kakashi. Kneeling beside him, he rolled him onto his back to get his face out of the mud. Placing his hand to his neck, Sasuke checked to see if Kakashi were still alive. Don't worry, Kakashi. I'll get you out of this mess. It was then that the second wave of Kirinin attacked them. Sasuke saw them coming. Looking at Kakashi, he knew he had to protect him. Holding his hand forward, Toby's flesh peeled back to expose Sasuke's hand, from which missiles began to appear. He fired them at the approaching Kirinin, causing catastrophic explosions that turned the mist red with blood. His hand began to fire chakra rod after chakra rod like a machine gun. Missiles and rods were fired everywhere. Sasuke kept going until he was sure there were no more Kirinin left. After this, he attempted to pick up Kakashi's body, but before he could, he was stopped. Toby, what are you doing? I'm sorry, but Master said I can't let you leave. You gotta get back to the cave. Toby, let me go. Stop, Sasuke. Kakashi's safe. Maybe you couldn't save Rin, but you saved him. He'll live. He's fine. Just let him be. You made a promise. A promise to one old fool, one I don't have to keep. I don't know that man. I know Kakashi, and I have a responsibility. Just stop, Sasuke, Toby said. He released spores from inside of his body, coating Sasuke, putting him to sleep like anesthesia. Just take a nap, Sasukun. When we get back to the cave, everything will be okay. Getting back to the cave, Toby opened up and spat Sasuke out in front of Madara. Sasuke coughed and woke up. Sitting there, he looked at Madara. Why didn't you let me rescue him? Don't you know enough about me? You've asked for my life story, and I told it. You watched me train. You've done everything. I've done everything, and you still won't let me go. What more do you want from me? Madara looked into Sasuke's eye. The Rinnegan, the most exalted of all dojutsu. I had thought something about you was different, and now I know. Like me, you have the potential to awaken the Rinnegan. Now I know what it is that sets you apart. Like me, you possess the same chakra. A chakra from ancient times. Sasuke didn't seem like he cared. Okay, now you know what sets me apart. Now let me go. Madara's smile corrupted into confusion. You lack vision, young Uchiha. The Rinnegan's abilities are beyond comprehension. I sought its power for decades, and only in the years before this, at the end of my life, did I ever awaken it. Do you not know what you could do with this? Madara proceeded to explain the Rinnegan, its abilities, everything it could do, what it meant. Last but not least, he explained the infinite Tsukiyomi, a genjutsu so powerful that it can be cast upon the whole world. They would be free to live in a world of their own choosing. Peace. True peace. Sasuke's brows furrowed. Yeah, they can live in peace. Until they die of starvation. The Gedo statue will keep them alive, and at any time they can be freed to live a new life. Sasuke shook his head. No, sir, you're just a frickin' nut. You really think life is better off in a dream than in reality? What is real but what your brain tells you is real? Madara questioned, trying to trip up Sasuke's logic. How do you know you're not already in the infinite Tsukiyomi? Because I'm not a total loser who would want to trade in the life I know to be real for a fantasy world. I'm not weak. I'm not gonna run away from my troubles. Neither should anyone else. Was that seriously why you kept me here this whole time? Just to try and make me join you in this weird endeavor? You're insane. Senile. I'm done. Sasuke turned to walk away. Many Zetsu got in the way to stop him. With a flick of his hand, Sasuke used the Diva Path to knock them away. However, before he could make it to the door, a large, blue, ethereal hand reached out and gripped him. Madara's Susanoo pulled Sasuke back. I had seen so much of myself in you. I thought you would finally understand, but it seems that you and I are not as similar as I'd believed. Madara reached out and gripped a Zetsu. He transferred his will to it, turning it black as night. Or so he thought he had done. The Zetsu rose. You are the physical manifestation of my will, Madara said. Cover this whelp. He's too important to dispose of, but too wild to be trusted. Put him to sleep and use his powers for yourself. Fulfill my designs. Yes, sir, Black Zetsu said as he covered Sasuke from head to toe. Sasuke struggled for a time, but as the struggling died down, Black Zetsu was finally in control. Madara, walking back to his throne, sat down. I am weary of this weight. When the time is right, revive me in a younger body. We will finish our plans. He then disconnected himself from the Gedo statue and died. As you wish, master. Kakashi laid there in the mud. He felt as though he were dead, physically and emotionally. But suddenly his eyes shot open with a gasp. He laid there blinking. He had yet to notice that one of his eyes had changed. Much like Sasuke, his eye was a lavender ring possessing Tomoe within. Kakashi crawled over to Rin and began to weep. What did you make me do? And that's where I'm planning to call it quits for the night. I kinda felt like it was slightly cliche to have Sasuke and Kakashi basically react the same way as Obito and Kakashi did in canon when Rin was caught, but I needed to set it up. And now, because of that, we have a little more in the way of plot devices. Besides, I felt like it was pretty in character for Sasuke to do. After all, when fighting Haku, Sasuke seemingly was willing to sacrifice his life for Naruto. I thought in a situation like that, he'd do the same. But what do you think? Do you agree with the way this went? Are you excited for the next episode? Let us know in the comments below. Don't forget to like, subscribe, and ring the bell to be notified when the next part drops. And while you're waiting, check out some of our other videos from our channel. How about these ones here? Anyway, until next time, peace out.